Afternoon, good evening, whenever it is that you're going to be seeing this. It's actually morning here, and I'm 5 hours behind the UK. But yeah, so that's where we are. But I wanted to come on and speak about something that just came up for me this morning about when you're sitting in corporate spaces and not always feeling good about yourself. And the issue is not that you don't have the competence, it's that corporate was never designed to reward us fairly. And so, for those of you who are still sitting in corporate spaces, you might be sitting there overqualified but overlooked, and you might be quietly questioning yourself. And this is where I felt that I needed to come on to say, and I need you to hear it really clearly, that it's not that you're not good enough. It's that corporate was never designed to treat us fairly. And I say us because I was in corporate for more than half of my current life. And it's kind of like Hotel California. You can check in, but there's parts that just stay with you. You can check in, you can never leave. But look at where you are sitting there. You know that you are overqualified. You're the one that people come to asking for help. You're the one sitting there helping people rewrite and pull together their CV. You're the one sitting there helping people to prep your colleagues, helping them to prep for interviews. You're the one going and helping them with their first 90 days in the job. Like, what is it that they should be doing? You're telling them, go for the role. This is going to be great for you. But when it comes to you, you hesitate, you overthink, and you downplay your experience. You're not putting yourself out there the same way that you would encourage your colleagues to go for the role. You're not doing that for yourself. And many of us will think, oh, I lack the confidence, it's an issue. Most of the time, it is not lacking confidence, it's conditioning. And I'll tell you how this happens, because there's a lot that happens in corporate that is unwritten, unspoken. Every so often you get a glimpse behind the curtain, and you actually get to see what's happening. You can feel it happening, but you get to see what's happening. I give you an example. Some time ago, I went for a role, and from the beginning, they made it clear that they read my CV, and they said, my experience is not an issue. They could see that I had all the expertise. They even said that when they looked at what I was coming with, was that I was probably one of the most experienced people that had showed up for this job. So I was feeling, I knew I could do the job I could do the job blindfolded. It was me. That job was literally me. Got to the end of the job, got to the end of the interview, and obviously there's that space where I can ask questions. And I asked a question that just the answer to that question just changed everything. I asked, who exactly are you looking for this role? What type of person are you looking for this role? And the answer to that question was that, well, experience isn't the most important thing. They said that they could train anyone to do the job. What they were looking for was someone who fit into that team. And I sat there and I thought, I'm probably on the wrong side of 40 here, because I was mid 40s and I was older than the founder. I was older than the person carrying out the interview. When I looked at the team, because I checked out what this organization looked like before I looked at the team, it looked like everyone was mid 20s to mid 30s. And I thought, ooh, okay. From my point of view, I felt that I could fit in. I felt that I could fit in and I would fit in. But I wondered how, it would look from the other point of view. Long story short, I didn't get the job. And but it hit me. It struck me in that many of us don't get that level of insight when it comes to how corporate behaves, how people behave. And in that moment, it just confirmed what we know, that it isn't always your expertise and your experience that gets rewarded. Corporate doesn't reward expertise. It rewards alignment. It rewards familiarity. It rewards comfort. And it will sometimes as well, not even sometimes, it will usually reward who they feel is the easiest to manage. And I thought, there's me going in mid 40s. I'm older than the person whose brainchild this is. Is this going to work? Are they thinking that I'm going to come in with my own ideas because of my own experience and that kind of thing? And that may have happened to you, although you may not have had the answer that I've had, because like I said, these things play out in corporate spaces every single day. You may not be getting the promotion. You may see colleagues around you who are not as experienced and they're being groomed for positions that you know that you can do with your eyes shut. And what that does is you're sitting there knowing that you're more experienced, you're more capable, you're more qualified, but you're still being overlooked. And it can make you feel as if you're lacking, but it's because they've already decided who they've wanted. They've come into the process with the fit that they want, and you may just not fit that. Nothing to do, and it may not even have anything to do with your personality. It's just who they want. And what happens next is where the real damage occurs, because you start off as this person who knows that you're probably even overqualified for the job. You are very skilled in what you're doing, but because of those types of knockbacks, you start questioning yourself. And you're looking at the other people, like I said, the other people around you who are getting promoted, the other people who may be being groomed for positions that you think, I'm ripe for this. This is me. But other people are being stared into it. And rather than seeing how the system is working, you start internalizing it. You start thinking to yourself, okay, maybe I'm not quite ready. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I need another qualification. Maybe I need to prove myself more. When it's none of that, there is literally a game being played. And I always hated that thing about playing the game, but you have to understand the game that's being played, because if you don't understand it, and this isn't like I said, I always hated that thing about play the corporate game. I hated it because it's not a game. We're here, we all show up and most of us show up and want to do our best. We're not here to play games. We're here to do our best in the organization and get rewarded for it. And if a promotion is in your future, and this is where you're meant to go, but it doesn't always go that way. But when you don't understand the game, what happens is you continually try to prove your worth. When you're trying to prove yourself in a system that doesn't reward you based on your worth, and it can be a futile effort. It's the fastest way to burn out. You sit there, you're disillusioned, you're wondering why everybody else around you is climbing the ladder and you're not, or seemingly climbing the ladder, and you're being asked to train the person who knows less than you in a job that you can do blindfolded. And that happens, but what it does is it makes you question yourself. And this is why I say that it's so important to not have your job be your only validation. Your self-worth has to sit outside of that. Your job is literally just your 9 to 5. It literally just has to be a platform. And it's a platform where you build your skills. It's where you build your insight. It's where you build your experience, but it cannot be the place where you measure your worth. And it cannot be the only place where your value exists. And that's where, and if we don't do that, that's where we as professionals can get stuck. And that's where we get it wrong, because you will sit in those spaces knowing that you're qualified, knowing that you have the expertise and you have the skills, thinking that that job title is your protection and you're going to get respect from that. But what happens is, if you don't start creating your identity outside and away from that role, that title, then you will forever sit there waiting for permission, waiting to be chosen, and waiting to be recognized instead of leveraging what you already have, the skills that you're sitting on. The reason why people are coming to you with questions, knowing that you have the answers, because you already have the skills, you have the expertise, you have the knowledge, you have the experience. And so this is why it's so important to leverage what you already know, so that you can create options for yourself outside of corporate. And that's why, I continually speak about turning your skills into income, because when you do that, everything changes. When you sit there and you are reliant on that one salary that comes in at the end of the month, yes, it's comfortable, yes, it's stable, but you are totally reliant on this space to for your salary, for your worth and everything. You end up being in a space where you're actually begging for opportunities when you could be creating them based on the skills, the talent, the expertise, the experience that you have. And you detach your confidence, your identity from that one organization. And you do that by building evidence that is attached to that experience, that you're grateful to the organization that you were able to get your skills, your knowledge from that organization, or from however your path went through corporate, but you can detach your identity from it. Because where your entire identity sits, your income, when your entire income, all of your confidence sits inside of that inside of that job, it's not security. It no longer becomes security. It means that you're dependent, and that dependency is not healthy. And this is why I am starting the 6-week income exit blueprint program, income exit blueprint, for 6 weeks. And it starts on April the 13th. Because when you're in those spaces and you understand, it's like the scales have to fall from your eyes, and you have to understand what type of organization you're working in, how it does not work to push you farther, how it does not reward expertise, it rewards what is easily controlled and easily managed. You have to learn how to survive within that structure until you're able to get out, which is why I don't preach jumping. I applaud anybody who has left corporate and who has been able to get out, but you have to do it strategically. You have to understand how to leverage the skills that you have. You have to understand how to package your experience into offers and build evidence whilst you are still inside those spaces. Because when you're now ready to move, it doesn't mean that, okay, you're fed up, you can see burnout coming on the horizon and you're just going to throw down your resignation and get out. No, you move at your space, because one of the most important things to look at when you are feeling like that and you're in those spaces and you think to yourself, I've had enough of, working in corporate, had enough of this job, not moving forward. I'm feeling stuck. The easy thing to do is to jump, but you have to know what you're jumping to. Have you got a mattress under there? Have you got a oh gosh, what's it called? Can't remember. A safety net underneath that you're jumping to. Because many times we are running from rather than running to, which is why it is so important to build that safety net, to know what you are running to, so that when you are ready to leave corporate, you are going into something that's going to take you forward. I had dreams and visions of freedom, which is I wanted to be my own boss. I knew that I just wanted to have the freedom, like where I am right now, to be able to book a plane ticket, not have to ask for permission, but also be able to work from anywhere in the world. And I was able to do it not because I leapt without a plan. I sat there, and I'm doing a video currently, just editing that video currently, speaking about the 8 years that it took me from the time I knew that I wanted to be a coach to actually leaving. Yes, I was stuck for a part of it, but then I realized that I had to have a strategic ending, because freedom does not come when you hand in your resignation from the job. Yes, you're no longer going to have to deal with the micromanaging and the bullying, if that's what you're dealing with, or it could just be the low resources and the high workload, and nobody's listening to the solutions and problems, and you're watching the same thing go over and over again. You may be dealing with that, and to hand in your resignation and walk out is great. I always say, if you've got sugar daddy, sugar mummy, then you can do that. But for most of us, we don't have that, which is why we need a strategic plan. And that is why I say, build your brand before you quit. Start understanding what it takes to generate income whilst you are still in your corporate job, because that's when things start to switch. When you're in your job and you are reliant on that salary every month, it slaps into your bank account, and it feels good now, and you're sorted for the next month. That's great, but it makes you reliant and it makes you dependent. When you start generating income outside of that salary, and you see money coming in from somewhere else that is starting to rival the money that you are earning in corporate, something switches here, because you realize that you're no longer dependent on the system. And that's what my 6-week program is doing. It's called the Income Exit Blueprint. So if you are overworked, if you are overlooked, if you're sitting there knowing that you've got skills and talents that you're not really using, and you are tired of sitting there waiting to be chosen when others are being picked off around you and chosen and moving forward, and you know that it is time for you to choose yourself and choose something, start building something that is going to choose you back, then type ready in the comments and I will send you details to the Exit Income Blueprint. That starts April the 13th. And we are going to go through that for 6 weeks. And during that period, we're going to be looking at how you leverage your skills, how you create an offer, tweak it, revise it, and start earning money so that you're not dependent on your corporate salary. This is a time where we have to look at, no longer underestimating what we're capable of, because when we do that, we will forever be sitting in spaces and organizations that do not see us fully for who we are, do not value our worth. And when you look at, the time that we have on this planet and where we spend our time the most, you think about when you started work to where you are now. If you are in that space where your worth is not being valued, where your skills are being suppressed, where your voice is being suppressed, then you do have to ask yourself, is this really it? And I know you're already asking yourself, is this really it? So if you know that you are meant for more, type ready below and let's have a chat. Thanks for coming on to this. And if you got to the end, type ready anyway, let's have a chat. I'm always up for a coffee chat with whoever comes along on my page, just to see where we align and what we have in common. So that's the end of today's video. I really wanted to just come on and speak about, how our confidence gets knocked when we, and it's not always by our own doing. It's because we find ourselves in spaces that are not designed to actually see the real us. So see you in the next video. Bye.